Yay Networks.
Everybody, welcome to This Is Life with Heather and my baby daddy,
Cornelius.
Happy Father's Day, Papa Bear.
Appreciate it.
It was last week, but we're here.
We are here.
How was your Father's Day?
It was great. I got up, went to the gym.
Okay.
Thank you guys for getting me the PS5 that eventually went to my oldest son.
You got the old PS5.
I got the old one, but I felt like it was a great, that really just showed fatherhood. Just continue to make sacrifices for your children. So, and then I took a nap.
We made breakfast for you.
You made breakfast for me. I took a nap and then went to the grocery store and got me some steaks.
That I offered to cook, but he wouldn't let me cook them. So I'm like, wow, I don't get it. First 10 years of our marriage, I cooked every day.
No.
Just about.
No.
About 85%.
Okay. Well, I mean,
And then all of a sudden you don't need me to cook, so you don't like my food no more?
Wow. These generalizations.
No, I'm just messing with you, baby.
I know.
I appreciate you not putting that pressure on me
Praise
all
Lord.
the time. I appreciate it. I do.
Yeah. But I made my steaks and had me a nice salad with it and that was it.
Nice.
Sat outside, had a good cigar and just woosad and watched First 48. It was great. It was amazing. It was an amazing day.
While he was outside, I came out and we had a really cool conversation and we figured we should bring it here. We talked about what we wanted to do when we wanted to divorce, and it went viral a few times, and it encouraged so many couples because they're like, we need this real transparency because it seems like social media is like this perfect fairy tale land and nobody's telling us like the truth about marriage. And then these single people are getting married with this idea that marriage is like this perfect thing and that you're always going to love each other and you're never going to have conflict. You're never going to argue. And I feel like we just kind of bursted those bubbles to let you know, like, you can go through hard times and still love each other and you can still work through it and not give up on your marriage. So
absolutely.
I was just so encouraged by all of your guys' messages. And
I haven't seen any of them because I don't go check any messages, but my wife was telling me that I guess people said something. I don't put comments on my stuff, so yeah, I never see it. But praise the Lord, thank you so much. But this is like, we're not trying to put on a show for you. Like this is reality.
This is our life.
We're just giving you like the raw, real. Yeah. This is exactly how it was, and our hope is that you're able to duplicate that in your own marriage and really start to ask each other those questions. I actually had one of my homies, he reached out to me and he said that he and his wife listened to the episode, the first episode, and he said that after that, he said they were just kind of silent a little bit after the message. Wow. After the recording, it was just like, oh my goodness, like I don't know what to do. So then he started off and he said, he went and he asked her, he was like, so I guess I'll start this off.
Oh, wow.
Like, so do you like me?
Wow.
And his wife got quiet and his wife started crying.
Aw,
because,
dear.
And I think a lot of it was the same thing that you were talking about. Like it's difficult. She didn't want to hurt his feelings.
I never want to hurt your feelings. Like I never want you to feel rejected. But then I realized I need to be able to tell you the truth about how I feel.
Yeah. But that was her same thing. She was like, she started crying because she didn't want him to feel rejected.
Yeah.
And, he was just like, no, be honest. Like, this is your opportunity for you to be honest. And then in her honesty, she was like, no, I don't.
Dang. He wasn't expecting that?
He wasn't expecting it. And he said hearing her say it, he said he had an idea, that's what it was. But he said hearing her say it brought out this whole new reality. That was like, dang, for real? And then she asked him, and he said, he was like, of course I like you. Of course I'm this. Of course, which made her feel worse. Like, dang, well, I don't like you, but then you're saying you like me.
Yeah.
So then they continue to converse about it. And then he was like, he said, I'm lying.
So he was still performing.
He was still performing. He was still like trying to put on the show.
How many marriages are putting on a show? Like,
you
got to be honest and you got to be real, because I feel like we can build from an honest place. We can't build from the fakeness, the performance, the Instagrammable pictures, the perfect life, like that's not even real.
Yeah.
You know? And so, wow.
And because he explained to me, he said the reason why he put on the show and he just continued to lie, because he was like, you know, I feel like her saying that she doesn't like me or me saying I don't like her means that we failed. And I told him, I gave him I was like, look, bro, honestly, it's not that the two of you failed.
Yeah.
It's that the two of you have grown.
That's maturity.
That's maturity.
Being
like you're not the same people you used to be. Like I look at my 3 kids. I look at our 3 kids.
Oh my God.
Our 3 kids are not the same people they used to be.
At all.
You know, Roman has so much personality now. Taylor, so much personality. Logan, so much personality. And they continue to evolve. They continue to grow. So why do people get grown and all of a sudden they assume that they're just going to be that same way forever?
Forever.
It's like you are one way in your 20s, you're one way in your 30s, one way in your 40s, one way in your 50s, you set in your ways in your 60s.
Yeah.
Like, give your opportunity chance to grow. And he said he finally was honest with her, and she got upset because she's like, this is one thing about you that I don't like. She's like, when it's time for us to be honest, you play games.
Dang.
But now, you know, they sat back. And he said after that hard discussion, he said he felt like a weight was lifted off their marriage.
Yay.
And now
That's
they're
amazing.
moving towards real healing.
Real healing. Come on.
That like changes things. You know what I mean? Like they're moving towards something real. So I was like thoroughly proud of them. And he said they've been in marital counseling for 3 years.
And that never came.
And he said nothing was as freeing as them having that very, very real, authentic conversation.
Wow. And I feel like as you were talking, I could sense that there's some people that don't love their spouse anymore and they're afraid to tell them.
Yeah.
But I feel like even we need to get to the root of that. Like, why? What happened? Because at one point you guys loved each other so much and you felt like till death do us part. But somewhere along the line, bitterness, resentment, something grew in your heart along the way that brought you to this place where you're like, I don't love this person anymore. And I feel like after love, you begin to start drifting.
Yeah.
And then the marriage starts going south. But I feel like if you could catch it, if you could nip it in the bud and be like, you know what, let's face this. Let's figure out what the issue is. Because I feel like after I don't love you part, or I don't like you, then I don't love you, then it starts to be like, okay, who else can fulfill me? Because this ain't working. And then they start going to outside sources and outside things and outside voids and start being secretive or whatever the case is. I feel like it's like a pattern. So if we can nip it in the bud early, then marriages can be saved.
Yeah.
If people can just be honest and real with each other about where they are.
Yeah.
You know?
That's extremely good, but that's extremely difficult because our society does not create a safe place for honesty and transparency. It doesn't create
That's
one.
real.
And
That's real.
it's like even the guys who I coach and I talk to, church is supposed to be a safe place for us. And it's
For
not
some people,
safety.
yeah.
It's not safe. So they're pastors, or they were pastors, or they were executive pastors, or they were whatever it may have been, or they were worship leaders. And they while they were trying to create a safe place for the members, they themselves could not find a safe place. So the marriage became a performance. The marriage became this thing that it became an audition every Sunday morning. So you got people who cannot just open up and just say, well, let me just be honest in this moment. And whatever happens, like I'm going to show up.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up. And that was one of the things we talked about in our conversation we had outside on Father's Day.
It was so good. We talked for like an hour.
Because it was like one of the things that I was telling you, I was like, you know, I just want you to show up. I don't want you to feel like you need to perform in that moment. Yeah. I don't want you to feel like you need to become someone in that moment. Because belonging means that I accept you for you. Fitting in means I accept you because you are somebody who I want you to be. And I don't want you to fit in. And people feel trapped in marriage because they're trying to fit in. They're trying to use all of these different tools and all these different things. Say, well, I fit into this box. In this box, you can't.
My love language, my this. Yeah. It's this perfect little box that just does not freaking exist.
And you know what I always feel I've always said about love languages. I feel like it's great, but listen to me, y'all. I feel like that love language test tells you more about your trauma than it does about how you feel you're loved. Yeah. Because if I go look at my love language test, I scored a 0 on touch. And while I could look and say, well, I feel best love when you show me acts of service or with words of affirmation. The truth of the matter is that I need to go and examine why is physical touch a 0? Because that in itself is dangerous. Yeah. And we highlight well, I want you to serve me, but I need to deal with the fact that physical touch is a 0. I need to deal with the fact that I need words of affirmation to be affirmed, and why I can't affirm me, like why I got to cling to your words and why my words can't be enough. Yeah. And your words become just an accent or become something that helps me in my journey.
Oh, that's so good. Oh gosh, that's so good, baby.
Yeah. And we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. You know, one of the biggest things that I think has helped me in my journey to be more authentic and to be more compassionate and to be more real is therapy. And that's why I'm so thankful for our sponsor, BetterHelp, because to have a network of trained and licensed therapists that I can go to, and knowing that I don't have to stick with just one. If I find someone that I may not really click with, I can always change that person, and knowing they have financial aid available, and being able to know that I have somebody I can talk to who can help to verbalize and add words and verbiage to my pain is so important.
Yeah, it really is. And it's so interesting because we constantly talk about this on the podcast, how you were saying one of the areas, that you've noticed that I struggle with is that I put everybody else before me.
Right.
And it's so important. And I'm learning through therapy how important it is that I need to start putting my mental and emotional and my soul care first.
Right.
And therapy helps me to do that so I can be a better me, to show up better, not only for, me, but my family.
Yeah. So find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Lindsay's today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Lindsay's, LINDSEYS. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Lindsay's, LINDSEYS.
All right, we are back, and man, this conversation is so good because I feel like it gets really deep into just being honest, and I feel like this world has turned so fake, right? Like nobody feels safe to open up and talk to anybody. And I can be transparent and say, when we had our church in Atlanta, I did not feel like I could open up to them folks. Don't get me wrong. I love them. I care about them. Still, we saw them when we were in Atlanta last week. We saw, some of our old members, and I just love them to life. But I didn't feel like a lot of spaces were safe because I felt like being the first lady meant I had to stand up and like have this image of like perfection.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell people, hey, I'm feeling depressed today.
Remember, I tried to.
He tried.
And I was vilified for it.
Yeah. And then it was like, no, you're so crazy. You're so funny. He'd be like, y'all, I want to give the church away. He would tell them that and they would laugh. And he'd be like, no, for real. Like, I don't want to be here. I'm struggling with depression. Like, I don't want to live. And people are like, my pastor's so crazy. Like, no, he was being for real. And I feel like if you open up and you're honest, so then what happens is we go throughout our life just pretending. We're not opening up. We're not being transparent. We're not being authentic. We're not being genuine. We're not being honest. We're using people to get what we want. Like, people just don't care about people. It dehumanizes them.
Yep.
Right? And so everybody's going around pretending. And that's why I think anxiety is at an all-time high. Depression is at an all-time high. Marriages are falling apart. Friendships aren't as close as they used to be because I don't trust that if I tell you something that I'm going to hear it again repeated somewhere else. And it's just like, I don't even know if I can open up to you because I can't be vulnerable with you because I look at your life and it looks so perfect and mine is a disaster. But if we're all honest, all of our lives are disasters.
All of them are disasters.
We're all working through our progresses. We're all trying to be the best we can be. We're all working out our own salvation. And I just think that if you're going to be honest anywhere, it needs to start at home.
Yeah.
And we had a really hard conversation about, on Father's Day about just being honest. And like, I guess we're titling this "Call Me Out on My Crap," but I wanted to know what my crap was. So I asked my husband,
which I gotta throw this in there, like that's bravery.
Yeah.
Like, to really have a conversation like this is bravery.
It's so brave.
It's brave because it's like, it means that you're willing to show up. It means you're willing to be seen. And it means you're willing to hear. And that is not something that our society likes.
Yeah.
I mean, like you mentioned, it's all about dehumanization. It's all about divide. It's all about us versus them. Especially with politics. It's like, how in the heck did we get to the point where we let a presidential pick divide like family members?
Isn't that crazy? It's wild.
Like you're my brother. Like, why the heck is my presidential pick? Like, why is that so divisive now?
So divisive.
Well, we can't just agree to disagree. Like, we can't just move on. But nevertheless, I wanted to throw that out there to let you know that I thought that was like extremely brave of you.
But in my head, I view myself as one way. But I knew that my husband would be so honest with me. And if you think about it, he knows me the best. We live together. We've lived together for almost 13 years. We've been married for almost 13 years. We've been together for like 15 years, but married for about 13. And I think sometimes people don't want to hear what their spouse has to say. But if anything, we should be like, tell me how I am. Tell me, like, I want to know. Tell me. And I said to him, and be honest. And the thing is, I already know you. I already know you're going to be honest. But I didn't want you to sugarcoat nothing, because I felt like if I want to grow and I want to get better, I don't want to have this like veil or this like, idea of who I am. But the proof is in the pudding, right? And the fruit is what the fruit is on a tree. So like, one of the things that you said was that I try to please my family. I mean, overly please my family to the point where it's detrimental to myself. And I literally like started to cry, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm crying again.
Oh, baby. But it was good because, I think you hearing that, it resonated something within you to say, you know what, that is something I do. Because and thinking about, of course, your childhood, thinking about your past, being adopted, going with the foster parents who didn't believe in fat babies. So they left you alone, and they left you in dark rooms by yourself. And then, being adopted into a large family where you could not get, individualized love, even though, you were loved so deeply by your mom. Yeah. But going through all of that, like, of course you want to have that family that you thought was so great. Like, let me just have the husband, let me have the kids, and I'm just going to love them and love them and love them and love them, and everything's going to be perfect, and they're going to always pour back into me. I'm
so obsessed with them.
Yeah.
And
but then it's like, oh, well, all that stuff is great.
Yeah.
But then it becomes, over obsession.
But you don't realize that you're projecting your childhood trauma onto your family.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being little and getting into our 15-passenger van with all these kids that do not look like me, and they're all my siblings. And then I would see people get in like little small cute cars, and I used to think, I can't wait till I get older and I just have like a small little family, and we all look like each other, because I didn't look like my parents, and I struggled with my identity. I'm like a teenager, like struggling. I'm going to an all-white school. And so I had this idea in my head where I was like, when I get older, like, I want that family. I want the family where everybody looks like each other and everybody's so happy. And it's all a facade, because even that family has issues. Like, my husband, I look at his family. If I was a child, I'd look at your family and say it was perfect. And then we find out 35 years later that your father,
36 years later,
that's your daddy, not your daddy. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying, but that's real. But
oh God, that is so true.
But like, you don't realize how you project onto your family. And I remember just thinking, like, when we were having the conversation, like, I'm exhausted because I will run myself into the ground. Like, our house is a freaking restaurant. I will make all the kids all these different meals, doing all this stuff, trying to please everybody, stay on every single email. Like, I'm the mom that's showing up for everything. Their kids' stuff at the school, they need to, parents to sign up. Oh, I'm signing up for it. And, birthdays, I'm going all out. Yeah. I'm just, everything I'm doing, I want to make it an experience.
Yeah, you were always about that. Let's make it an experience.
I need everything to be an experience. And it's almost like I'm trying to fulfill this childhood thing in me by projecting it onto my poor family. Yeah. It's just like, whoa.
That causes, and one thing that you may not see is that it will cause anxiety.
Yeah.
And me and the kids. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, here comes mom. It's like, oh, we sit at the table.
Has to be perfect.
We sit at the table, and the chef, he'll come and put the food down. And we're all sitting there. We're all getting ready to eat. And then mom's like, okay, everybody, now we're going to give the peek and pit of our day. And then Logan's at the side like, oh, God. Like, here comes mom. And, and then Roman's like, I just want my phone. It's like, it comes a sense of anxiety. Like, okay, we have to enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
And we have to enjoy it the way mommy wants us to enjoy it. So it's almost like me looking like, y'all know your mama did. Your mama worked hard on this. So y'all better say thank you. You understand? And the kid's like, okay. Then you come in the room and it's like, everything is fine. Everything is great. And we're freaking out because we're like, I don't know how mom's going to respond to this.
Right, because it's all perfection in my head, right? Yeah. And it's like you don't even realize you're doing it because you think you're doing good things.
Yeah.
Outside looking in, you're like, oh, she's such a great mom. She makes sure all her kids are dressed. They have everything they need. Like any party, they have what they need. Taylor makes sure she looks great. Everybody's perfect. Everything's great. But again, it begins to push this perfectionism onto the children.
Yeah.
And so now I have this curse of perfectionism that I'm now transferring onto my kids. But the world's like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have it all together. My kid is not the kid that, say it's Spirit Week. My kid is not the kid that's going to forget. My kid is going to have the best outfit ever. Logan went to camp.
Oh my gosh. She got him the biggest basket.
You better believe I did.
I mean, he was at camp for a whole week. It's one of those overnight camps. And she got him the biggest basket. I'm going to tell you exactly what was inside of this basket, but we're going to take a quick break. So we're back, and inside this basket, she had water and candy and chips and toys and hoodies and all this paraphernalia.
Toilet paper, just in case he didn't like the toilet paper there.
And mind you, we're in Atlanta. We live in California. We're an hour out of Atlanta, but we're in Georgia, and none of this stuff can really travel back with us because we don't have any space for his stuff. So I'm just like, if he don't use this within the 5 days that he has it, which is nearly impossible because he doesn't get the basket until the day before he leaves.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he has to use all of this in the span of 1 day. And I'm just like, or really half a day. And I'm just like, well, but I got to the point where I was like, you know what? If you want to do it, do it. Because if it was just me, I'd have been like,
but the crazy thing is, we were in Atlanta, we were in a hotel, and we were sharing a Turo. And he had to use the car to go do something really important that morning. And I'm up here like, I'm about to walk to Target to get this basket. Like, I'm so determined. Like, I'm that mom.
So determined.
Where I was like, I'm going to walk to Target and just get it myself. But then I was like, okay, thinking cap, Heather, because you got to get some work done. So I just had my mother-in-law go pick up the basket. I had her FaceTiming me and showing me different sizes and the different, whatever. And then I went on Instacart and I ordered probably like $200 worth of stuff to put in this basket. But you know what's crazy? Like, it's so wild. It's, again, projecting my childhood, onto Logan. Yeah. I never had a basket at camp. Like, I want Logan to have the best freaking basket, right? But it goes back to me. Like, right. Felt like I didn't have enough as a child. Like, I didn't have the nice clothes. I wore hand-me-downs, which is fine. I grew up in an amazing family. My parents loved me so much. It's just those first, I think, 6 months of my life that were so traumatic that it affected everything else. And then the fact that I'm adopted and the fact that I'm in this massive family with all these people, which is a blessing, but at the same time, there was no money for extras, right? There was like, it would be somebody's birthday or something at school, and their mom would come in with cakes and make a big deal. My mom couldn't do that. She couldn't afford it. My parents didn't have that money. So now I'm going above and beyond for all of my kids. Like, when we went to, like, for Logan's birthday, you probably remember this. I brought gift bags.
Oh my!
Because there was layers. His birthday was a whole thing. Like, that Friday, I brought gift bags for all of his classmates. I brought pizza, cupcakes, cake, drinks, fruit, veggies. I made an experience in his classroom. And then that Saturday, we went to Six Flags, and I bought 22 tickets for all of his guests because I said, if I'm going to invite you to the party, it needs to be free.
Pay for it. Yeah, you got to pay for everybody else's. So.
I have to pay for I can't. I was like, babe, we can't ask people to pay for Six Flags. It's expensive for large families. So we bought 22 to 25 tickets.
So it's really expensive for us, mind you, but keep going.
Exactly. And then that Sunday, I threw a party at the house.
Yeah, you did.
And I was just like, this is too much.
This is a lot.
This is too much. But that's what I'll do. And that's what he meant. I will run myself into the ground for you guys.
And then, but see, the kids wouldn't hear it. I would hear it, and then you'd be upset with me. And I'm like, but babe, you didn't have to do that. Like you didn't have to do it. Or, you were upset because the kids are not appreciating my food that I cook. And I'm like, well, you don't have to cook them all individual food. Like they're okay, they're fine. Like sometimes it's hey, go in the pantry and get your own snack. But then it's like,
oh no,
when the kids want a snack,
no, it's processed.
It's like,
scratch.
Oh my goodness, apples and butter, babe, could you cut them up some apples? And if I don't cut them up fast enough, you're like, babe, if you don't cut up apples, I'll cut them up. I'm like,
well, there's a certain way that I like to cut them because I want to prevent choking. So
see, I don't care nothing about all that. Because in my world, I give him an apple and give him the jar of almond butter, and he can do it his alcohol self. I'm like, yo, it's a snack. Like he's fine. Like, bro, go in and get you some applesauce. Like when all the kids, when it's just me and the kids, they don't do any of that. They don't do any of that. Like Roman will get up, go to the pantry, go to the fridge, pull the chair up, get his stuff out, get the apple juice, pour it, put the thing.
He pours his own apple juice?
Yes.
What is life right now?
That's what I'm like. I'm like, baby, why are you running yourself crazy for these kids?
Like last night, I was like, Roman, do you want fruit rice? It's really veggie rice, but he calls it fruit rice. And he's like, no, I don't want that. I want your potatoes. And I make my potatoes, special. I cut them up and put them in, ice water and get them nice, get rid of the starch. And then, I cook them on the stove, and they like it perfectly crispy. So it took me about 20, 30 minutes.
And he was asleep.
He was asleep.
He went to sleep.
He went
to sleep.
He did it. Yeah.
He went to sleep.
He didn't eat it.
He didn't eat any of it.
He didn't eat any of it.
Because he didn't really want it. He wanted a snack he had already eaten, and it was just like, but I get it. I do. I get why you do it.
Yeah.
But it was just cool for you to be able to be at a place of being able to accept it and be like, man, like, okay, I can own that. But like, you got to give me something. So like, I know how I see me, but so you gotta let me have it.
Okay. All right. I'll let you have it. You didn't ask me last night or when we had our conversation.
No, because the kids came outside.
Yeah, they came outside. Okay. So your turn. I think that one of the things that I see that can be hard is that you can get really silent and you can get in your head. And when you do that, everybody's trying to make sure you're okay and please you and tiptoe around you. Like, for example, Logan will be like, Dad, do you want some food? Do you need anything? Dad, how? Like, they all rush to you to be like, is Dad okay? Because they don't want you to not be okay. And I've noticed that. Like, Taylor would be like, Dad, you don't have to do anything. You want me to make you something? And they want to please you, right? And so I think you could be struggling and dealing with, different issues, at work or whatever that's going on. But I think sometimes it makes you zone out. Does that make sense? It makes you zone out and you get silent, and then you want to be by yourself and you want to process. That
introvert comes out.
It does.
Yeah.
But the kids they can sense your energy. They can sense when you're feeling low or feeling down, and they want to please you too. Like, is Dad coming? Is Dad okay?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think a lot of that attributes from my childhood. I mean, I grew up in a house with an older sister, but, I didn't really talk to my older sister. So I processed alone, I ate in my room. I played video games mostly alone. I went outside and played with imaginary friends alone. You know, I used to wrestle with a straw dummy that I made out of my grandfather's old clothes.
Oh, wow.
You know, and the ring was an old trampoline that a cousin of mine had broken. So I sense like when I get into discomforting places or uncomfortable places, I retreat inwardly. And my goal isn't to cause anxiety in the house.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can see how that could happen because I have a presence. I have an energy that's in the house. That's,
like you're
when I walk
leader,
in, I know
you're the leader of our home.
Everybody
100%.
knows. But my goal in being silent is to be introspective. And sometimes I just need okay.
Yeah.
I just need a moment because all y'all are a lot. Like all of y'all are a lot. And I just need a moment to just step back and just think for a second because
you need a man cave.
Got out, you know.
Need a man cave.
But I've even started to see that in Logan.
Yeah.
How he needs that time away from Taylor and Roman and us.
Yeah. Oh,
and
100%.
he becomes introspective and he goes into his room.
He tells me like, Mommy, hey, I just need some space.
I need some space.
Yeah.
And I love that, you know, we can honor him with
Taylor
that.
does too, though.
Yeah, Taylor does it too.
Taylor be gone. We be like, where's our kid?
Because she be sitting down there talking to us, and all of a sudden 5 minutes later, you're like, where did Taylor go? Taylor be up in her room with a blanket over with a whole bunch of pillows and stuffed animals and be chilling.
But I never had space growing up. So I think, you know, now I understand you guys having space is healthy. But back in the day, I would treat it as rejection.
Yeah.
Because there was no space in a family of 25, 24. You just all together, you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, and we actually brought this up in our conversation, and that was something that I said to you that I think really, really helped our marriage in that moment too. And I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that right after this message.
All right, y'all. I think it's important that we build our credit.
Absolutely.
My credit used to be like 500s. Right. And I'm so thankful that I'm back up in the 800s. It took me a long time. And it's so important that we're building our credit, especially if we want to eventually get a house or get a car or get any type of loan.
Yep.
But you guys, I want to offer this amazing opportunity for you to build your credit using Chime Credit Builder Visa Credit Card. It's the best way to build credit. You can build your credit score safely with everyday purchases and on-time payments. There's no annual fee, no interest, or credit check to get started. Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
Because that was my issue before. I used to get denied so many credit cards out of college because your girl turned up. Okay, so I needed to rebuild it. I need somebody that can see me like I feel like Chime is seeing y'all, all right? Again, no annual fees, interest, credit checks apply. You can use it everywhere. It's a Visa card, y'all.
Yeah.
Build your own credit using your money.
Right. And with a qualifying direct deposit, you can get access to your money sooner, get paid up to 2 days earlier. You got fee-free overdraft with SpotMe. You can ditch the monthly fees. You have access to 60,000 plus fee-free ATMs.
Come on.
So start building your credit up. Open a Chime checking account with at least a $200 qualifying direct deposit to get started. Get started at chime.com/LWTL. That's chime.com/LWTL. The Chime Credit Builder Visa Credit Card is issued by Stride Bank N.A., member FDIC. Chime checking account and $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Late payment may negatively impact your credit score. Results may vary. So we were talking a little bit about this, and one of the things that I mentioned to you was that my silence does not mean that I'm rejecting you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to take my silence personally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's something I also need to communicate to the kids as well, that I don't want you to take my silence personally. I don't want you to take it as, oh, you're silent, so you must be upset with me. Or
like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, what did I do wrong?
And it makes some people pleasers.
Yeah. And I don't want that, because most of the time they be like, Dad, you want something? I'm like, no, I'm cool. I'm cool.
And they're like, no, Dad, are you sure?
Yeah,
what do
you
you
sure?
need?
Like,
you notice they ask you over and over again.
I'm like, no.
Meanwhile,
bruh.
I'm just standing there like chopped liver. Like, what do you need, babe? You know what I mean? Like
no,
ask me, kids.
I'm chill. Just chill out, y'all. Chill.
We all intense.
Oh, everybody's intense. I'm like, yo, chill. But I do think this conversation I have with the kids, I never want them to take my silence and mean that it's like as a personal attack against them. And I could also see that, I mean, for somebody who suffered from depression and suicidal thoughts, back then my silence was probably a sense of like unsurety. Like, okay, so what is he gonna do?
Oh, it was triggering for me.
Yeah, it was like, hold up.
Because I'm like, hold up. Like now, there'd be times I didn't sleep because I was like, is he okay? Yeah. And I would hide the gun and I would be like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's tough. The kids weren't there for that as much, but I'm sure they could, sense something's going on. They don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I do think like just reassuring, like, hey, I have a lot going on. I love you. But just that communication, that step of communication to be like, I'm here, or let's go to the park. Let's get our mind off of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I can do that. I can definitely do that. Hanging out. I can explain it, but I still need the time for me.
Oh, of course you do.
I don't want to be like, hey, let's all go to the park, because that's kind of counterintuitive to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Because there are times in like I can be just so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That I don't want to use my family as escapism. In the same way, like I don't want to use the video games as escapism. I don't want to use food as escapism. Yeah. Like I really need to just process this.
Well, maybe those times you communicate with me and then I take them out. Like I can take them to go get to the park, or I can take them to get ice cream.
That would be cool, but then I don't like y'all going anywhere
he gets
without
stressed.
me. I do. I get stressed when they go places without me. Because I don't feel like if something happens with y'all being gone without me, then that bothers me. Like I'm like I wouldn't be able to live.
Yeah.
Like why wasn't I there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to have that that reoccurring thought that you missed out on this, and no.
Like legit, y'all, I'll plan.
Or miss a milestone. Like maybe something happened and you're like, babe, you will never believe it. Because I've never missed a major milestone in my kid's life.
Never missed a thing. Like he's at everything.
So like even just something like, okay, y'all just going to get ice cream. I'm just like, no.
It's like, what if something happens and I'm not there?
Nah, so I got it. I'll drive.
Y'all, if y'all only knew, I have rarely gone out with all three kids on my own. Like
I can't remember the last time you did.
Yeah, it's rare if I'm with all three by myself. Like it's very, very rare. Because you want to be there. And I love that about you. I think that's great that you want to be at everything. And it takes the burden off of me to, feel like I have to be in survival mode. You've made it so I can be a nurturing mom. Mm-hmm. I can be a little intense mom, and I'm pulling back on that. But I did practice last night. You'd be proud. So the kids, I went to the playroom with them and they were doing flips.
Oh, yeah.
And they like it when I rate them. Now, the old me would always give a 10, like always give a 10. And then Logan used to get so upset. He said, Mom, a 10 is not reality. You're always giving 10s.
He's me.
And he's like, I need you to be honest and start like being real with me. He's like, I don't want to ask you because I know you're just going to always tell me the best, because he's like, I know you love me, Mom. That was like a wake up call. So since then I'll be like, that was an 8.5,
do better.
Exactly. And then Taylor's like, what? And I'm like, you didn't land your flip. You know what I mean? So now it's freed me to just be more honest with the kids and transparent with them. And I think the other side part is my mom was so soft with me, and she was so sweet with me and never felt rejected by her, rarely corrected by her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm taking my mindset from my mother, who's so sweet, so kind, always encouraging, always building me up. I remember when I got in a fight at school and the girl punched me from the back. And my mom said when I came home from school suspended for fighting, my mom said to me, she's like, you couldn't have just turned to her and said, hey, let's talk this out.
Like, no, Linda, I couldn't. The girl hit me from the back.
She hit me from the back. Mom, what you think? I'm fighting back. You know what I mean? So
I can see Linda doing that.
You know
too.
my mom.
I know your mom.
So my mom just thinks love can cure everything.
She does.
So
she does.
I literally have that mindset.
Delusion.
Sorry, Mom, if you're listening, we love you.
She know I love her. See, that's the thing. She probably listens. She probably said, "Oh, Cornelius."
But I would never say delusion because that would be so like, oh my gosh, offensive. And I never want not just you, the kids, but I never want people to like feel rejected by my words and me. You know what I mean? So I feel like it has sometimes hindered, some relationships about being completely honest with people. Like I would let people run over me and hurt me and skip over boundaries that I would typically be like, no, that's not cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I feel like these conversations, and this is why I always say having these hard conversations at home begin to trickle out into your everyday life afterward. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If we can get our foundation right at home, then you can start having better boundaries in every area of your life. Because now I feel like I'm developing better boundaries with my friendships, with my relationships, being honest, being transparent, and letting people know like I'm not perfect. Yeah.
You're showing, and that's what I'm so proud of because we're showing up, we're being seen. Mm-hmm. And, even in, like you mentioned, friendships, there are some times in friendships where I have to say, you know what, I don't like that. And
that hurt me.
Yeah, I love you, but I don't like that. And that doesn't reflect the best of you. It doesn't reflect the best of me. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that we have to stop being friends. It just means that I have at least expressed to you something that before I would just kind of hold in. Yeah. And I'm not going to hold that in anymore because if I am, then I'm not living with integrity. Yeah, because we've always taught that integrity is just being honest with being doing the right thing. Yeah. But integrity is true honesty, and I got to be honest with myself first. I can't hold that stuff in, and in marriage, especially, and with my kids. I don't want my kids. I tell Logan because he's 10. Mm-hmm. He's so mature. We go to practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays. One of the things is I talk to him about how imperfect I am. And I tell him little stories. Like he'll be like, Dad, I didn't do the best today at practice. I'm like, dude, I walked in the gym the other day and I felt like I just walked around that place. Yeah. I was like, it was just the worst workout I've ever had. But we have those discussions. I want him to know like, oh, you know what? My dad's not perfect. And it's okay. Like I don't have to be perfect. But my goal is, like I tell him, I said, dude, when you go to practice, all I want you to do every single time is show up and be seen. Yeah. That's it. That means give it everything you got every single time. Just show up and be seen. Show up and be seen. And if we can start doing that and having those kind of conversations in our everyday life, especially with each other in marriage and with our kids and with your boss or with your coworkers or no matter what it is, just allowing for yourself to be honest.
It's so good.
It'll bring about just amazing change. Was there anything else that was? I know it's probably a lot, but was that the most glaring one?
Well, let's talk about it in Call Me Out on My Crap Part 2.
Call Me Out on My Crap Part 2.
So y'all gonna have to listen.
You're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it again.
Let's talk about it again. I feel like there's more to dive into. What do you think, baby? What you think?
All right, we could do that. Hey, we appreciate y'all. Make sure you share this with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your boss, your TikTok, your Instagram, your Twitter. Or it's not. Elon's changed his name. It's not Twitter anymore. It's not gonna be Twitter anymore. It's gonna be X, isn't it?
Is it really?
I think it's gonna be called X.
I like that. I'm a huge Elon fan. Yeah. We are heavily invested in Tesla, so we love it.
So, introduces, we out, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
See y'all next week.